The Forgotten Wing. The night shift at Ravenswood General Hospital was unlike any other. The building itself was a sprawling relic of a bygone era, a towering monolith of brick and mortar that had watched over the town for more than a century. Its sterile halls were lined with faded linoleum and peeling paint, and its fluorescent lights hummed a tired, flickering tune, like a tired heartbeat in a body long past its prime. For Emily Harper, a young nurse fresh into her career, the night shift was a trial by fire. Her first few months had been a whirlwind of new faces, desperate patients, and endless paperwork. But tonight felt different. There was an undercurrent of unease in the air, a chill that didn't belong to the drafty ventilation system or the cold antiseptic smell. The hospital staff rarely spoke of Wing 7B. Some said it was closed for renovations. Others whispered darker stories. A wing quarantined years ago after a series of mysterious deaths, patients who had simply disappeared. Officially, the hospital had no records beyond a certain point in that wing, as if it had been wiped from the maps and memory. Emily had heard the rumors, but never believed them. Yet now, as she paced the quiet nurse's station, the pager strapped to her belt crackled sharply. The screen lit up with a message that made her stomach twist. Wing 7B. Emergency. Her eyes darted to the hospital map taped to the wall. There was no Wing 7B listed. The message had to be a mistake. But then it buzzed again. Please help me. 7B12. Emily's breath caught. She looked around. The station was deserted. She was alone. A cold sense of dread crept over her as she stuffed her belongings into her bag and grabbed a flashlight from the supply cabinet. She told herself she was just going to check the source, to confirm it was a malfunction, a prank, or a misdirected call. But deep down, she felt pulled toward the forbidden wing like a moth to flame. The west corridor stretched before her, bathed in the sickly glow of flickering bulbs. The air grew colder the further she walked, and the soft hum of machines faded into an oppressive silence. The paint on the walls was cracked and peeling, revealing grimy patches beneath, like scabs on an old wound. At the end of the hallway stood the heavy metal door to Wing 7B, chained shut, with rusted locks and faded warnings. Restricted access, no entry. Her pager buzzed once more. "Help me," the message pleaded. Her heart hammered in her chest as she knelt, pulling a small crowbar from her bag. The chains creaked and snapped open with surprising ease, and the door groaned as she pushed it inward. A stale rush of cold air hit her like a wave. Inside, Wing 7B was a forgotten world. The hallway beyond was lined with dusty wheelchairs and cracked tiles stained with the ghost of years past. The air smelled of mold and metal. The light from her flashlight danced nervously on the walls, revealing flickering emergency lights, some blinking erratically as if struggling to stay alive. Down the corridor, a door marked Isolation Room 7B12 caught her attention. Faint light glowed beneath it. Emily's pager buzzed again. 7B12. Her footsteps echoed as she approached. Her fingers trembled on the cold doorknob, which, inexplicably, felt warm to the touch. She pushed the door open. The room was empty, save for an old hospital bed covered in a thin, yellowed sheet and a battered clipboard lying on the floor. Emily bent down and picked it up. The patient's name was scrawled out in black ink, replaced by a single word, unknown. A sudden chill crept over her as the overhead light flickered violently, then died, plunging her into near darkness. The beam of her flashlight caught movement in the corner of the room. A pale figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, translucent and shimmering, her eyes deep voids of black. "Help me," she whispered, voice barely audible but filled with desperation. Emily's breath caught. The door slammed shut behind her with a deafening bang. Panic surged through her veins, but she forced herself to remain calm. "Who are you?" she asked, voice shaking. The apparition's gaze never wavered. "I'm trapped here. I never left," she said. "The others, they didn't survive." Emily noticed the faint outline of shackles around the ghost's wrists, rusted chains that seemed to dissolve into mist. "You're a patient?" Emily whispered. The ghost nodded slowly. "They locked us away, said we were dangerous. We were experiments, twisted by the doctors. The Forgotten Wing hides what they did here." Emily swallowed hard. Her mind raced back to the whispered rumors about unethical research and quarantines during the hospital's darker days. "Why are you here now?" "To warn you," the ghost said. Something's coming back. Suddenly, the walls trembled, and distant screams echoed through the corridors. Low, desperate cries of pain and fear. Emily's flashlight flickered wildly. She knew she had to get out. The corridor was a maze now, shifting and twisting as if alive. Shadows crawled across the walls, reaching for her. The wheelchairs rattled and clattered without wind, and the faint smell of blood thickened. Her pager buzzed frantically, this time a single word. Run. Emily sprinted, heart pounding, but the hospital seemed endless. The chains from the door she'd left slammed shut, and the lights died one by one. Then, from the shadows, figures emerged. Patients in tattered gowns, faces gaunt and hollow, their eyes pleading yet empty. Join us, they whispered. Emily's legs felt like lead, but a burst of adrenaline pushed her forward. She burst through a heavy door and found herself in the hospital chapel, a dusty, forgotten place of prayer. There, she found a journal lying on the altar, its cover cracked and worn. The journal belonged to a nurse from decades ago, one who had tried to expose the experiments in Wing 7B, but disappeared mysteriously. Emily flipped through the pages. The final entry read, "They are not dead. They never left. The wing feeds on the living to survive. If you hear the call, do not answer. Run and never look back." Emily bolted through the corridors, retracing her steps back to the main hospital. The cold whispers pursued her, but the oppressive darkness began to lift. She emerged into the bright, sterile hallways of the active wings, gasping for breath. Her pager was silent. Her hands trembled as she checked the time. Only 15 minutes had passed, but it felt like an eternity. She glanced back once, and through the window of the sealed door, she saw the faint outline of the ghostly woman, watching her, eyes filled with sorrow and warning. Emily knew one thing for certain: the forgotten wing was real, and some doors should never be opened.